Welcome to Dorney Park and Wildwater Kingdom in Allentown, Pennsylvania. This is one of the older parks in the United States and is one of only 13 trolley parks left. So let's advance forward. This is a park owned by the Cedar Fair Company, so as usual they have their security people first, then you have the ticket gates, and then you enter onto the concourse with this absolutely gorgeous 1921 Denzel carousel that was moved here from Cedar Point. It also has a really nice working band organ too. So I'm just going to go over here, and here you can see the entrance to Wildwater Kingdom. The big orange and blue coaster you see in front of us is Talon, which is a pretty wild B&M inverting coaster. And of course, like many Cedar Fair parks, they have the Dinosaurs Alive exhibit, which is an upcharge. So in front of us now is the sort of main midway of the park. And I'm going to make a sort of counterclockwise path around the park. It's really hard because it's an interesting layout. The park is in sort of a U shape. There's a nice shot of the Denzel carousel. And also its gorgeous Wurlitzer organ. I'm also not even going to attempt to alter any of the background audio because there was popular music playing very loudly everywhere I went, and so all of the background audio would have ended up being backwards, which would have sounded weird. So I'll just let the Google police do whatever they want for copyright purposes, but there's a lot of popular music. There's Coaster's Drive-In, which is a good little restaurant that has really good veggie burgers, which is important to me, and milkshakes and, 1950s food, hamburgers, hot dogs, that type of thing. There really isn't much down this path besides a few flat rides. You saw one on the left there. Some game booths and some concessions. There's the Wild Mouse over there in the distance. And the swing ride in front of us, the Wave Swinger. But outside of that, it's a fairly open area. Some really nice architecture, like this Art Deco area over here on the right, which is an arcade. Way in the distance there, you can see Whitewater Landing, which is the park's big shoot-the-chute ride. There's a nice view of the arcade there. A lot of beautiful plantings in this park, really nice landscaping. Notice there's a lot of concrete here instead of asphalt, which is a relief in the hot summer days. Lots of shade, a lot of trees in the park, which I welcome. But there are a lot of hills, which we're going to be seeing in a little bit. I want to take a quick look down this alleyway here. There are two rides, the Dodgems, which is the building right in front of us, and just to the right of it is the entrance to Talon. And below us you can see the track of the Cedar Creek Cannonball, which is one of two miniature railroad rides that they have in the park. This is a fairly conventional one. It goes around beside the river raft ride that they have. And it's a very picturesque ride. The station for the Cannonball is just ahead of us on the right. You can see the platform over there. And you'll be able to see the massive splash produced by Whitewater Landing here. Yeah, that's a big one. There weren't a lot of takers on that ride because the day I was there, even though you can see a little bit of blue in the sky, it was a mix of torrential downpours and intermittent sunshine the day I was there. There's the Cannonball entrance. And if you were to follow the path that's in front of us back over to the right, it would take you to the entrance to Thunder Canyon, which is the big river raft ride. So plenty of opportunities to get wet in this park. besides the water park, rain notwithstanding. The park began in 1860 when Solomon Dorney started a salmon hatchery. And you could come here fishing, and he would also start serving up the salmon in a kitchen that he started. And that was its genesis. And eventually he sold the park, and it began building up like many trolley parks did, with more and more rides being added. The park came onto my radar in 1989 when they constructed Hercules, which at that time was the largest drop on a wooden roller coaster at 151 feet. It plunged off the cliff and down over the lake. And if you go down to that area, there's an observation area by Hydra, which we'll see in a little bit. You can still see the footers for Hercules that went around there. But the ride was pretty rough and became a maintenance headache and eventually was torn out. And as you can see, it started raining again. But I'm just going to keep plowing on through with the walk-through unless it gets so bad I can't continue. The big green coaster that you see in front of us is Hydra. That's what replaced Hercules. I remember originally coming to this park when Hercules was there and you parked right in front of the coaster. Shows you how much the park has grown since then. So Hydra is in the same spot, but a much different layout, a much different kind of ride. Has a really unique start to it, which we'll see in a little bit. Notice over on the left is Planet Snoopy, the Peanuts-themed children's area that is at most Cedar Fair parks. We'll take a little walk through there. Cedar Fair, incidentally, took ownership of the park in 1992. Like other Cedar Fair parks, it has lots of stuff for small kids to do. Not a lot of family rides that you can do with your kids. The monorail that you see over on the left is one of them that you can do with your kids, but most of them, they're kiddie rides. And in front of us over here on the right is the stage where they have little Peanuts characters come out and perform. Just so you have an idea of getting your bearings, you could see the back of the wild mouse over there. I really like this tunnel over here. So we're just winding our way through here. You notice there are a lot of other little winding paths. And this is going to bring us out down a hill in the sort of lower northwest section of the park, roughly. So that was most of the Planet Snoopy area. It's roughly in the center of the park. And there was more to the left and right of the path I was on, but you get the idea. So we're going to go down now into sort of the northwest corner of the park. And then we'll make a counterclockwise through that whole section. It forms a sort of southern tail at the west end of the park. Now behind us looks like another midway, but really it stops there. You have the Ferris Wheel, which was closed the day I was there. The Ferris Wheel is beautiful. It's a nice ride, but that's all that's down that path. That's a dead end, so we're not going to go down there. Instead, we'll continue on this path here, and you notice how sharply it's starting to slope down. And you also notice how sharply it's starting to rain down. So there's a Music Express on the left and a Tilt-A-Whirl. They've got flat rides scattered throughout the park like this. And it's really starting to come down now, so I think we're gonna duck under these trees here, and we'll get back to you as soon as it lets up a bit. There we are. Let's keep going. I had actually ducked into the souvenir shop, which was just down there on the left. So here's Hydra. You notice coming out of the station, it actually does a barrel roll as it comes out of the station. Then it goes around to the lift hill. So we'll just watch it go through its paces here for a little bit. And Hydra is what's called a floorless coaster. You basically are on elevated seats and there's no floor underneath, so your feet are dangling above the track. Alright, wasn't that exciting? So let's continue our westward journey here. Now this path on the right will simply wrap down and around to where we're going, so we won't take that, we'll just continue along this path here. If you followed that path down there, you'd find Thunder Creek Mountain, which is a really good flume ride. And in front of us is the Burrito Cantina, which is sort of like a Fresh City. It's got fresh-made burritos. You can make your own there. They'll put whatever ingredients you want on them, and they have chips and guacamole and all sorts of stuff. It's pretty good. Really big burritos. Over on the right is a Subway. There aren't many places to eat indoors. A lot of these cafe tables with umbrellas, in this case soaked umbrellas. There's a Subway, and again, there's no place to eat inside the Subway. You have to come out on these cafe tables. And for some reason, these umbrellas were not opened up. And next to Burger Barn is the entrance to Thunder Creek Mountain. Over on the right is the Demon Drop, which was from Cedar Point. It's a very rare ride, sort of prototype Intamin. I used to call it the dumpster drop. And basically you get into this cage and they lift you up and drop you off the track at the side of it. So it's a unique ride. If you've never been on it before, it's worth trying. That in front of us is, in my opinion, the best coaster in the park, Steel Force, which we'll get to in a little bit. Down that path is the entrance to the Demon Drop, and some nice picturesque photo ops of Cedar Creek and Steel Force. So now we're going to head south on this section of Midway. There's the lift hill to Steel Force. And all the way through the park, they have these historical signs that tell you things about the park in the past. And I really like that feature. You know me, I love history, so that earns points in my book. That's Dominator, the park's triple drop tower, which of course was running. And over here on the left is the station for the Zephyr, which is a wonderful covered Art Deco train, miniature railway. And it goes around Cedar Creek. It's a nice, relaxing, picturesque ride. A little claustrophobic, since the whole thing is covered. You're inside a cage, basically, in the train. And over here is the station for Thunderhawk, a classic 1923 wooden coaster designed by the great Herb Schmeck for the Philadelphia Toboggan Company. And it's still running great. It's a fun ride. Lots of laterals and some good airtime on there. And there's a scrambler. So like a good traditional park, Dorney has a nice mix of old-style rides and modern thrill rides. The first time I came to the park when Hercules was built, I rode one of the most horrifying boat rides I've ever been on. It was a sort of tunnel of love style of boat ride. You know, you just go into a dark area, but it had the most repulsive scenes in there of people with their guts hanging out, things like that. So I don't miss that ride at all. That was so uncharacteristic for the family feel of the park. Over here on the left is something that's in keeping with the family feel of the park. It's Road Rally, which is their little antique sports car ride. You can see in front of us the turnaround of Thunderhawk. And there's a nice view of the bunny hops all the way back to the station. Now we could keep walking down the path on the left. It would take us to the same place, but I'm going to squeeze through between Thunderhawk here toward the far south end of the park, the southwest end. I've been so busy telling you about all the stuff on the Midway, I haven't mentioned much about entertainment in the park. There's a big show that we're going to get to a little later that you'll see. But they also had a little stage that I walked by a little earlier. It was the center stage, and it was just across from the Burger Barn. And they do a thing called Party Mix, and that's a sort of dance club thing. And they also have a band that walks around the park. But interestingly, most of the park's entertainment takes place in the Planet Snoopy area. They have 5 shows that take place in Planet Snoopy each day. So there's plenty for the kids to do there. As you can see by the huge banner in front of us, that's where the entrance to the Dinosaurs Alive exhibit is, which is an upcharge. But right next to that, to the right, is the entrance to Steel Force, which is one of the first Morgan hypercoasters that was built. And it's just a wonderful ride. It's an airtime machine. Just one speed bump after another with a really powerful helix on the far end. And on our right now is the Revolution, which is a fun spin and barf ride. So rather than go down that other path that was beside Thunderhawk, I'm going to go across the bridge and then head back north. You can see the little food dispenser there. There are plenty of ducks and geese that you can feed in the park. I don't think there are any salmon left, though. And that yellow and teal structure there is Possessed, which is the park's Intamin shuttle coaster. Magnetic launch. And then over there is the end of the Southern Midway at the Cedar Creek Flyers, which is a flying scooter ride. Here we have a bank of games. And so now we're heading back north. Possessions is a clever name for the Possessed gift shop. There's the entrance to Possessed. Even though we were at the park on a Friday, which is normally a very busy day for amusement parks, There's no one here because the weather forecasts were saying flash flooding advisories for the whole day, so that tended to keep people away. Over there on the right is the very colorful monster. And again, notice how much lush landscaping there is throughout the park. And over here is the entrance to the Zephyr. I love that sign. And you can see it parked over there. Art Deco masterpiece. And in front of us is another one of the park's classic rides with a wonderful facade, the old Mangles Whip. And they keep it in really good shape. Now it sounds like they got the drop towers running. You can glimpse the demon drop in the distance there, so if I kept going toward the left, we'd end up back on the same path we were already on. So instead, I'm going to take a right here and go up through this section of Midway. And you can see the Ferris wheel there. So this will take us over to the southern end of Planet Snoopy. And there are lots of games in this section. And over here is one of the few indoor eateries at the park, Chicky and Pete's. So if you need your crab fries, that's where to go. There's the Sea Dragon, the pirate ship ride. Now, this building in front of us was recently remodeled. I have never seen it used because we're never here at the right time of year. This is a haunted house that's only opened for the Halloween season. To me, it seems like a massive waste of space to have that only open one time of the year. It'd make a really nice dark ride any other time of the year. But during their Halloween haunt season, that's one of the scary places in the park. And here's another one of the historic signs. And it's all uphill from here. Planet Snoopy is just ahead of us, sort of on our left. The Sugar Shack, as you might expect from the name, has lots and lots of sweets. There's the Ferris wheel. And on the left is an Auntie Anne's pretzel stand. Those concessions seem to be popping up at more and more parks. I love a good Auntie Anne's pretzel. And there goes a very wet brass band in front of us. And over on the right is the Goodtime Theater, which, while we were there, had Cirque Imagine, a sort of Cirque du Soleil performance. So we'll just tail the brass band back up this way. And as you can see, up there is the carousel that's taking us back toward the entrance, with Talon in front of us. On the right is the park's gift shop, which is actually really nice. It's a very big gift shop with lots of stuff in there. And that basically concludes our tour of Dorney Park. So definitely it's worth a stop here. It's a beautifully landscaped park, pretty good food, good entertainment, lots to do for everybody. So another wonderful park in a state that's filled with wonderful parks. Whenever you're back here in the Allentown, Pennsylvania area and eastern Pennsylvania, stop off at Dorney Park and Wildwater Kingdom.